All right.
All right, everybody. One Fun Guy podcast in the studio with Michelle. Michelle, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi. Well, obviously, my name is Michelle Sanchez. I'm from Waukegan, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, and I am a alternative rock artist.
Okay, awesome. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. At what age did you start thinking about music and what you wanted to make it a career and get involved in it? Was it something you knew right away, or did you kind of grow into it?
Um, I kind of grew into it. Like I knew I wanted to do it, but I wasn't like fully locked in. I started when I was 15. It goes back when I was in the pageant industry.
Okay.
So like my mom put me in the pageant and they were saying, "What's your talent?" I was like, "I don't know." And so they were just like, you got to have a talent." So then I was like, I mean, I could sing Mariah Carey. So I ended up singing a song by Mariah Carey, and then from there it just started off. But I always knew I wanted to be in like the rock industry. I
Okay.
knew I wanted to sing in the rock, but
Yeah,
like I just didn't know how to get into that
sure.
industry because because in the pageant I was with in the Latin community, so I did a lot of Latin singing. So like did a lot of tribute Selena, Jenny Rivera, ballads, mariachi, and norteños, all that stuff before.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you're 15 years old. You're in the pageant. What kind of music are you listening to then? Did you have kind of the rock influence? Did you have kind of the Mexican heritage music? A little bit of both,
Um,
or like
I had
what
both.
were?
I
Okay.
had both. So like I would listen to Black Flag at one point when I was in the pageant industry. Then I would listen to like Green Day. Then I would go into like Lady Gaga, listen to Bad Romance. And then from there I would go listening to Los Hombres G and then Gloria Trevi and Alejandro Guzman, which that was in the Spanish industry. So
Okay.
it was just like a mixture of both that I would just like like I was not the average like pageant girl back then.
Right. So you're doing the pageant now, right? And
Hmm.
you're going that route. You use music as your kind of platform and your base. At
Yes.
what point then through the pageant do you say, okay, I'm more serious about singing. I can actually do this. I'm not afraid to be in front of people. Like what at what point does it click for you?
I think it clicked when I first started it. When I
Okay.
first started singing it, I was like, "Oh, this is what I want. This is cool. Like, I love it. I love all the lights hitting on me, moving around, singing." I was like, "Yeah, I love it." So, it's just been like like in the pageant, like you had to have a talent in order for you to like compete.
Sure.
So like I just kept singing along, and I always liked it, and I wanted to make it official career. So when I got out of the pageant industry, I ended up like I would have people hire me to sing at weddings, graduations, funerals, like dinner parties and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I would do that, and because I knew I wanted to do that, and I knew I was like, this is what I truly, truly, really, really want to do. And after that, well, obviously, I went to college to study recording engineering because I was like, oh, this would be great for me because not
Mhm.
only I could be a singer, but I could also record my songs and produce as well. So I was like, oh, this would be great for me.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now, at what point do you decide that okay, I can write my own songs, I can record my own stuff? What at what age do you start thinking like, okay, I got to get a band together, I got to get musicians, I got to do this? Like when does it all come together?
I think that I started when I was 15, but I really couldn't find anybody that wanted to do it at that age, and I couldn't find anybody that was really wanting to do. So I guess when I moved back here in Illinois, because I went to Florida, um, I knew I wanted to be in a band. So I was just like, F it, let's go. Like, let me
Sure.
just make a flyer or meet my other connections and see if they're looking for someone. And literally, luckily, I used to work in a recording studio with Gerardo, which he introduced me to this band before, and that I was in, and I was playing keyboards with them. But then I got out of there, and now
Okay.
I'm so grateful that I get to work in this massive studio that I'm in with my producer, my best friend, with Chuck Masak. So he helped me find a really good
Okay.
band, helped me write and produce with all the songs that we're like today that we have right now on every streaming platforms.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll move into that then. So what it's when you were in Florida, did you notice the music scene different down there than up
Oh.
here? Like Chicago's kind of known for its music scene, but
Yes.
as I've had musical guests on my podcast before, there aren't really many bands from Chicago that like seem to make it, which is the
No.
most absurd thing because we have such an eclectic music scene here. But
Yes.
it seems like bands from Florida and California and New
Mhm.
York always seem to like catch it. Like they always seem to get
Yeah.
signed and you hear their music. And Chicago
Yeah.
just kind of seems to get left behind. What was Florida like? What was their scene like?
So their scene, okay, I was thinking about like a different type of scene, but their scene was more like alternative indie rock. So
Okay.
they were very alternative indie. So we were listening to a lot of like people will listen to Smashing Pumpkins a lot down there. And it's so different down there. Their music, I can't even explain it because it's
Yeah,
like
it's crazy, right?
it's
Because like Florida's
crazy,
known for
yeah.
their death metal, right? Like the
Yeah,
90s scene,
literally.
right? Like Cannibal Corpse and Obituary and Morbid
Yes.
Angel, they were all from Florida. So that they have kind of that scene down there.
Yes,
You know,
they
Chicago
do.
seems to have more of a punk hardcore following to it.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you mentioned the Smashing Pumpkins, you know, Billy Corgan's from, you know, Illinois, and you have Disturbed, obviously, which are like the hometown boys. But like the scene here is very unique. And
It's
you
so
know, we'll talk about that. But like you know, I noticed you played at the Liars Club.
yes,
And
I
like
did.
that's one of my favorite places to see a show. and what is unique about the Liars Club that a lot of people don't know is that they have a lot of after parties for big bands that play at the Rosemont or if they play at the United Center. The Liars Club seems to get picked a lot of times for like their after parties. They just kind of want to gravitate there. Yeah. And it was very bizarre because I met Gwar there and they played at the Metro and their after party was at the Liars Club. And
wow.
no one knew who they were because they weren't in costume. It was the most bizarre thing. Like Dave Brockie sitting at the end of the bar, like having a beer, and people are walking by him, and they're like, everyone's like, "Where's Gwar? Where's Gwar?" And they're like, "Dude, they're sitting right there. Like, they're just not wearing the big, you know, outfits and the costume stuff." But yeah, it's really cool. The Liars Club is one of my favorite places to see a show.
No, for reals. Honestly, like when I got the chance to play at Liars Club, I was so pleased. I was like, oh my God, like this is like it's one of the buildings that's been standing for the longest for centuries. And like I was like very happy. When I was putting up flyers in Chicago, a lady was telling me, like, oh, you're playing at Liars Club? And I was like, yeah. She goes, I love that place. I haven't been there forever. And like some of my regulars, because I work at a coffee shop, that I was like handing them flyers. And they were saying like, "Oh my God, I haven't been in Liars Club since the '90s."
Sure.
And I was just like, "Really?" So I love that place. The sound was amazing. The venue was great.
Yeah,
I personally loved it. I was like, "Oh, I found my bar. I found my place."
Yeah. Now, have you played any other places in Chicago, or do you have aspirations to play at like Congress or you know at the Salt Shed? Now is the big one. A lot of places going there now.
Soon I'll play a Salt Shed. Hopefully I'm hopefully to play there. No, I mean we have places that we have booked places that we want to play at. Right now we're just like putting ourselves out there to say like, hey, we could play at this time, this day, and every venues. Honestly I would love to play one day because I will always go there all the time at Rosemont Allstate Arena.
Yeah.
Because I always went there to see big artists.
Sure.
And I would love to go see there one day because that's where I saw, I believe, I saw Kiss. I went to go see Kiss in their last concert in United Center. That would be another cool one to play one day. But Salt Shed is in my bucket list. I promise you, mark my word.
It's so weird that like it just came out of nowhere, right? And for the viewers watching that might not be from the Chicagoland area, the Salt Shed used to be Morton Salt for probably 85 years. They had this big place right on Division in Milwaukee. It was a giant building. You could see it from the expressway. And for whatever reason, they moved to a smaller place and the building stayed vacant for about 3 years. And the people that bought it turned it into a concert venue.
Yeah.
So now they called it the Salt Shed. It's the old Morton Salt. And now it's a concert venue, which I heard is awesome. I haven't been there, but I kind of want to go see a show there. Acid Band just played there, I guess.
Dude, like I never heard of it until like 2 years ago or this year, but like I know for a fact like Amyl and the Smith are gonna play there. The Hives that I'm really looking forward to play there too. And I know Pixies actually played there not too long ago, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, dude, all the legends are going to play there, and I was like, oh
yeah,
man,
it's moving out
easy
and quick. Yeah. In the scene.
And how it looks, did you see the pictures how it looks from the outside?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
And
like
they
really
have an
did
arcade
it, you know?
inside of there.
Yeah.
You know? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's crazy to see that, like, and how it expanded and got
Yeah.
into that thing, which is really cool. Now, from the experience playing in front of people to the experience behind the studio, are there differences? Do you
Mm.
feel more comfortable in the studio, or do you feel more comfortable in front of a crowd?
Um, there is a difference because obviously when you're recording, you could like always go like, oh, I sing that note wrong, let me go back, or
Mhm.
let me edit this real quick, or like but in live, you mess up, you mess up. You gotta figure out what you gotta do. You gotta play by ear, or you gotta like, show must go on, or make it not obvious that like,
Sure,
you messed up or someone messed up. You gotta keep going no matter what. But
sure.
in the studio, you're just like more like, oh, I messed up. Oh, okay, so I could do this again. Oh, let me redo this. Let me recap this. You know.
Okay,
Uh, I think I'm more comfortable in both, in live and recording. I
okay,
could tell you like I do like playing live more because I get to move around,
sure.
command the audience, look at my band members when they're playing and like jam out with them and go here and there with them. I guess you could say I'm more comfortable with being live, you know.
Okay,
And I get to wear
yeah.
cool outfits too. Come
Right.
on.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, right? You get to play it out for sure.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Now, with your musicians that you're playing with now, do you guys have like a certain set list? Do you guys rotate it? Do you try to incorporate some covers with your own stuff? Like,
Yeah,
walk us through your
so
set list.
okay, so how we have it, we pitch in like I always ask them, I always say like, hey, which one do you think is the strongest song to open and which one's the strongest one to close? And then we do put in only one cover song. I don't
Okay.
want to be known as a cover band.
Sure.
Because like once you're known as a cover, you're gonna be covered for the rest of your life. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, you know. Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm
No,
wrong.
you're definitely not wrong, right?
Yeah.
I just noticed that, like, I go to see a lot of rock shows, and from
Hmm.
my experience now, seeing a lot of metal concerts, I notice like professional bands that are like, multi, record bands that have a lot of studio albums out. I've noticed they're starting to do a lot more covers lately,
Yeah.
of bands, but and I think that's coming back. And I think that, doing covers, it especially, if it's different if you have a band before and people know you from that band. So like I'll use Waylon for example, right? He used to sing for Mushroomhead. So his band, The Killer's Confession, a lot of people go expecting him to sing the Mushroomhead songs that he was a part of.
Mm.
So he covers them, but he also covered Prince, and he covered what was the other one he just did? It was really cool. It was Phil Collins. So
Yeah.
so I've noticed that a lot of bands now when they're playing live are doing covers of like other bands,
Other
and
band.
that's why I asked about like incorporating it, because I've noticed now even big bands, like big name bands like notoriety bands,
Yeah.
seem to put into play other people's songs.
Yeah, they do.
So it's I,
I think it's cool because I know I like to sing cover songs too, but I just like to add one. And then you know what,
mhm,
like and like big artists like they could they could do it because I know they like to play other musics out there too because I
sure,
know for a fact they do that, yeah. Or like Dua Lipa,
yeah,
she went to different countries and she played like a tribute, or like she sings songs where that artist is from that inspired her,
right,
or like and which I think
yeah,
that's pretty cool because she's doing like a thank you, so let me
right.
sing the song to you guys that inspired me. I
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's go a little bit sidetracking to the
mm.
songwriting process.
Oh yeah.
Do you write lyrics as they come by? Do you sit down and write them? Do they pop into your head? You take notes? Like, what's your process for writing songs?
So how it works, we all work together. I know my producer will have like cool lyrics. I'm like, oh, dude, this is cool. Or like I have like, we'll have other people that would want to write for me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like I'll take it in. There,
Mhm.
I'm not a much good songwriter,
Okay.
or I have ideas, but like sometimes I'm like, ah, that did not sound good, or like, oh yeah, that sounds good. So I'm like in the middle. I'm never like more like shut down, like, no, we gotta write my lyrics, we gotta use my lyrics. Like I'm more of like open-minded and more
Right.
like, yeah, bring your words. Or like, oh, these words are cool. Like Nefarious Villain was written by this girl in LA, and we sent her out because we wrote a song for it. I mean, we wrote lyrics to it already,
Mhm.
but me and my producer were not digging it.
Right.
So then we sent it out to someone, and luckily she brought it back, and
Okay.
we were like, "Oh my God, you saved our lives!" Because this song was like amazing, the lyrics and everything. So I mean, I guess we could say, yeah, I do write my song. I mean, write lyrics, but most likely we will have like my producer or like some other people from other states that will write lyrics for us too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I always thought that was the one cool thing about like punk rock, right? Like I like the old school punk, like the Damned and and the Misfits and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like you can write a lot of lyrics with punk that
Yeah.
you can't write with other genres of music, right?
Mm,
Because you
yeah.
could talk a lot about the political structure of things.
Hmm.
You could talk a lot about like what's going on in
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
You can talk a lot about history. You could
Yeah.
talk, like it's kind of like one of the unique genres of music where
Yeah.
like everything is acceptable, right? Like
Yeah.
like I love heavy metal, right? And I love death metal, but
Yeah.
you're mostly talking about horror, right? And
Yeah.
gore, and
And
like
gore.
so
Yeah.
they're all like focused on that. Like they draw inspiration from horror movies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But punk is one of those genres that like can kind of take a little bit of the political satire that's going on. They
Yeah.
can take a little bit of the scene stuff that's going on. They can take a little bit like out of their personal lives and write.
Mhm.
It's one of the more unique writing experiences that
Yeah.
I've noticed from punk rock, listening to their lyrics than listening to, any type of music that's out there that like, the 80s metal that I grew up on was all heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
Most of the songs were written about girlfriends that they once
Yeah.
had or loves they once lost, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
punk,
they're like about to like party, let's party
yeah,
all the time,
right.
24/7, and
Yeah, so punk is that unique thing where like
yeah.
you can have somebody like Henry Rollins writing about political stuff. You could
Yeah.
have Glenn Danzig writing about sci-fi and horror, and
Yeah.
then you could have like the Damned and Circle Jerks writing about anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the cool thing about like punk music that
Yeah.
unless you're in the scene, you don't really kind of experience it like
Mm.
that. It's kind of you just
No,
put
yeah.
yourself out there and play.
That's so true. Honestly, you're 100% true about that. Because you could get away with anything. You could talk about like who,
Mhm.
like you're talking stuff about somebody's talking stuff about you, and you could write that down
Yeah,
without feeling like you're just putting out there how you feel. And that's what I
sure.
love about punk too. Like literally, like I really do love that 100%. That I always like love the punk industry. I
Yeah.
always did.
So now, do you think that like, the punk scene kind of, I don't want to say died, but it slowed down, right?
Mm.
Obviously, you had bands like Blink 182, and you had
Mhm.
bands like the Green Day
Yeah.
and Good Charlotte that kind of rejuvenated that punk scene, right? That kind of brought it more back to where it was. Where do you think the scene is now in terms of
I
growing and being there, and like how do you think it's strong still, or do you think it's kind of now taking a back seat to more of the hard rock that's coming out?
No, I think it's still there.
Okay.
I say it's still there. I say like like it's like what you say, you're a hardcore metal guy, right? And you will
Mostly, but
most likely, yeah, most
yeah.
likely. But it's like a like for example, like if you get out of that industry, you're missing out so much. There's always new artists coming out in that industry. And if you step back in, you're gonna be like, oh, like now it's pop, like what I'm trying to say,
Yeah. Like,
like
so for example, like the reason I'm asking is because like, I know that like the Sex Pistols are coming back now, right? So
oh
Johnny
yeah,
Rotten's bringing back his version of, he's got 3 or 4 guys in the band now that they're
yeah,
coming back. And then they just announced that the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones are getting back together, and they're going to go on like a headlining tour. And it just seems like if you didn't mention the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones for punk ska,
hmm,
you wouldn't know who they were. You're like, oh yeah, I remember them, right? Like, because
yeah,
kind of everybody knows Gwen Stefani, right? And everyone
right,
kind of
yeah,
knows that. But like all the other bands that were in that era, you kind of just forget about them until like they're like you see it back on social media, like, oh, I didn't know those guys like were gone, right? Like the
hmm,
Mighty Mighty Boss Tones have been inactive for over 15 years now, and I was like, I didn't know they stopped making music. I didn't know they weren't like hanging out or anything like that. And now they're in the studio again, like back together.
back
So
together.
it's just like it seems like a lot of the punk bands and like ska bands, they're always there, but they just seem to be like the forgotten like plethora of musicians versus like the hardcore and heavy metal guys. You know, they always seem, they might take a break, but then they'll pop up again. Like they
Right.
don't really ever seem to disappear, where like a lot of the punk acts and stuff like that, they tend to fade and then come back. Like No Effects, when they disappeared for a while, they didn't put an album out for like 12 years, and all of a sudden they dropped an album. I was like, I didn't know they weren't together. Like I didn't know that was a thing. I thought they were just kind of, you know, maybe took a little break, but you don't
Yeah.
realize the amount of time that passed between.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the punk guys seem that they can get away with that, where the metal guys, if they're not around, they're like, why aren't you guys making music?
Yeah.
So
That is very I mean, yeah, you're kind of right about that. But I know most likely, like, I mean, after like a certain year, I know most celebrities want to take a break and recap what
mhm,
like happened to them, and that's why sometimes they don't go back to the studios, or sometimes they do. But
sure.
I don't think like the rock and I mean, I don't think the punk industry has died down a bit. I personally don't think so. I know nowadays, like, there's new upcoming artists coming in every day,
Sure.
inside and out,
Oh
and
yeah.
YouTube and Spotify and like
Right.
Apple Music, and they're like, and it's great because you get to hear music from like that genre and different type
Hmm.
of genre, and then I think that's the beauty now that like we have like streaming coming, and like I said, YouTube, we get to hear more music out there,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I just remember like back in the day, like going to the Vans Warped Tour, right? That
Oh
was
yeah.
more like punk, and then
Mm.
every once in a while you'd get a band like Hatebreed in there, somebody that was a little bit more heavy, but it
Yeah.
was mainly punk and ska driven. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden those tours just kind of ended, where it
Mm.
seems like the metal tours kept going, right? Like
Yeah, no, they kept
Ozfest
going.
continued, and then Slipknot did the Knot Fest, and then you know Korn did their thing, and it was kind of like,
Yeah.
it seemed like the punk stuff just kind of like it just hit the wall and then just kind of disappeared. And now like I hear all these bands that I once knew back in the day, they're like coming back, so it seems like the swing is up, but
Yeah.
I don't personally think it ever went away. It's just that
Mhm.
they're like out of sight, out of mind, you know. And
Yeah,
it
okay.
seems like
Yeah.
at least with the hard rock and like metal guys, they don't seem to ever like disappear. You always kind
No,
of
yeah, yeah.
hear stuff about them in the media, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, Metallica and like Motley Crue and bands like that. Like they might not put an album out, but like they're always seem to be doing stuff. Or like
Yeah.
the punk rock guys, if you're not in the scene, you're kind of like, where'd they go, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a blast from the past, right?
Yeah. No,
You know,
yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little interesting like that.
It is a little interesting. It really is. But I think like, I think rock is coming back harder and
Yeah,
bigger, especially in the girl rock industry. Now that like it's coming big, like girl
sure.
rock right now is coming in like a huge
Yeah, that
wave.
it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know back then like there wasn't that many girl rock. I could be wrong, but like it's coming in like a huge wave now.
Yeah, you had, you know, very few bands were fronted by female artists. You know, back in the day, there
Yeah,
might have been a handful of them. You
yeah.
know, and I know like Evanescence kind of brought it, you know, to the
Mm,
forefront with Amy Lee,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you know
yeah.
you had Tarja with Nightwish, who was doing it in the metal scene for a
Yeah,
while.
and then you had
But now,
like Haley
yeah,
Williams.
now it's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Like now
now,
there's a lot of like it's a big thing. It's and it should be, right? Because it
yeah,
sounds good. You know,
yeah,
you know, it's we were just talking about it on our other podcast about like the female, like, you know, emphasis in bands is kind of like the way that they sound and the way
yeah,
that they can portray their voices. Guys can't
yeah.
do that, right?
No,
Like,
yeah, there's,
so I think it's a very eclectic thing that a lot of the bands now are starting to go that way
yeah.
again, because it should be that way. Like I personally feel that, right? Like, you know, I love what Spirit Box is doing,
Oh,
right? And I you know, they're just so awesome the way that she
yeah,
could hit the growls, but she could also, you know, hit them. And then,
yeah.
you know, Alyssa White Ghouls is another one, right?
Mm,
She sang for Arch Enemy. She does the death metal, but like she
yeah.
sang on Powerwolf's album. She's got a great voice. You
Oh,
just
yeah.
don't see it because she's screaming into the microphone with Arch Enemy. And I think that's one of the reasons why she stepped back, because she wants to showcase her voice to
Mm,
the world instead of just being known for somebody who growls into a microphone.
yeah.
So yeah, I definitely see that being the case for sure.
Yeah, no,
You
for
know, and then so what would be now, like if you had to pick a band to go on tour with, who would you
Ooh.
gravitate to? Like if you had to take like one or two bands to say I would love to be, you know, an opening band for them, who would you pick?
Oh my God,
Not
that's
putting you on the spot, just like just a couple, you know.
just a couple. Are we talking like big bands or little
Doesn't
bands?
matter. You
Doesn't
pick.
matter.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, obviously, I would love to do Green Day one day.
Okay.
I, dude. Oh my God. Okay. I gotta say, Green Day, The Hives, and I gotta say was I love her. She's from United Kingdom. Karen Dio. She's like
Okay.
another one that I would love to one day like open for them.
That that's awesome. So
Yeah.
the viewers that might not know about like the punk rock scene or whatever,
Yeah.
if you had to put like what's on your playlist to give some people an idea of like what it is, like what's going through your phone or your music, like if you have an iPad or whatever, and I like what are you listening to? Like, will give us like kind of some bands that we might not know about that you could turn us on to.
Um, so like the ones I always listen to, like when I'm coming to the studio or when I'm opening a coffee shop every morning, I always listen to Bad Nerves. They're like another big. They're huge in the United Kingdom. Well, they're huge everywhere. Bad Nerves. I listen to The Hives, Ammo and the Smith, Bikini Kills, and La Tigres, and it's like a whole diversity going up and down. And
I like it.
yeah, and then also like there's a hardcore punk where I listen to Sex Pills, Clash, and like the classic ones of obviously
Sure.
the classic
Yeah.
punk. So it's just like a whole freaking wave.
Yeah. I hear. So it's funny because I did a podcast a few months ago with a girl named Athena, and she set up the Bloodstock Festival in the UK, and her job was basically like coordinating the bands to when they go on stage to the
Yeah.
stuff. And she turned me onto a band called the 500, which
Oh,
is
really?
they are awesome. Yeah, they're a hardcore band from the UK, and they
Ooh.
signed an LP for me and they sent it to me for a shot. It
Ah!
was awesome. But yeah, so like they're kind of the ones that like I push now. Obviously they kind of have that Parkway Drive feel,
Mm.
um, which is not really punkish. It's more of that. But like the UK's got a lot of stuff out there that I
Oh
think
my God.
American ears don't hear. And
Yeah.
I wish that it was kind of that way, back in the day with when you had the Who and the Beatles and Zeppelin and
Yes.
Sabbath,
Yeah.
because they came over here, and when they came here, they kind of left the UK behind. And
Mm.
I wish they would have brought more of that scene with them,
Yeah.
because now it's like there's so many good stuff out in all the other countries that
Yeah.
you don't know about unless a band makes it from the forefront, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
if
true.
there's a band, that you know, and you're like, oh, where are you guys from? Oh, we're from Brazil, or we're from the Netherlands, or we're from, like, you wouldn't know otherwise. But there's great music all over the world,
Oh yeah.
and I think that especially now in the UK, like, Great Britain's got a ton of bands. They do tons of festivals, but none of
Hmm.
these bands are known by the U.S. here, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. And you mentioned some bands from the UK. Why do you think that is? Do you know like why we're not so in
It
tune
could
to what they got going on over there?
it could be that like, I hear from other people that says is this maybe it's because we're not ready to listen to it, or maybe it's because
Okay,
like in America it's too perfect. That's what I heard. So it could be that. Or maybe it's just too much for us. But I'm not
okay.
for me
Do you
or like
think
anybody
that
else.
it's the United States forcing them to come here because of Hollywood and our music scene? Because let's face it, right? Like if you're in the music and movie industry, Hollywood is the scene, right? You got to get to
Mhm.
LA to make it, right? That's what
Yeah.
everyone's told, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
there's recording studios in New York and Chicago and all over the country, right?
Mm.
Nashville for country artists, right? But do you think that they're doing that to force them to come over here to record here as opposed to staying in the UK and recording over there and some of the landmark studios like Abbey Road and stuff that's over built in the UK versus, you know, almost like the United States, I don't want to say strong arming, but like basically calling them over here to say, hey, come to LA and record in our studios and get known that way by our distributing companies versus theirs? Because it's really weird. It's kind of an eclectic thing, because the UK has got some of the best recording studios that recorded all those old Beatle albums and Pink
Yeah.
Floyd, and it's like we don't know about them in the US, but
Right.
we kind of force everybody to come to Hollywood, right? Like that's kind of the goal. Go to LA and make it.
Right. I don't think so. I don't I mean I think if you want to make music that you want to break in America, then probably.
Hmm.
Because I know for a fact if I had an opportunity and I want to break in Europe, I would be like, okay, what do I got to do to break in Europe?
Sure.
I'll go to Europe and find a producer there. And, but obviously bring the team that I have, combine their team with my team, and fly to Europe and try as much as I can to break in United Kingdom, you know?
Okay.
But I don't, I think, I don't think it's because we're forcing them to come here. And I don't think it's that, like, I think it's more like if they want to go to LA to
Hmm.
record LA, they could. Or it could be like, financial, like it'll be more cheaper to go to LA and record
Sure.
there. And probably it's expensive in the other states. Like if I had an opportunity to go, or like if, let's say, like, oh, let's go to Mexico because I guess it's a little cheaper to record
Hmm.
there. Then we'll go over there. But I don't think, yeah, I don't think so that like they have to go to LA for that
Okay.
particular reason. Um, I
So
don't think
right,
so.
no, no, that's a good answer, right? Because like
Yeah.
my follow up question was going to be now, back in the day, to be a musician, it was always meant to be a thing if you were signed, and now
Yes,
it
that is
seems
100% true. Yeah.
you're using social media to your advantage now. You can sign yourself, right? A lot of people do their own marketing. They go online, they put their music out, they put their
Mm,
videos out. You can get on
mm.
Spotify relatively easy. You don't need an agent now to do any of that stuff, right? You know, it's where do you think the business now is kind of at for you? Do you feel more comfortable on a smaller scale, staying local, doing stuff on your own? Or would you feel more comfortable if you had a team behind you saying, all right, let's push out everything we can?
I think I would be comfortable in both side.
Okay.
Like, because if I want to, because I know for a fact, like, if I play local and going out live, playing gigs all the time, that'd be great. Because like financially, like I'll be okay with that, you know. And I could handle everything to myself, but sometimes it could be a little stressful where I'm like, oh wait, I forgot this, or I forgot to send an email. I have to do this. So you always
Hmm.
need like another person to help you out, you know. um I will like, and if I want to push further and harder, then I will have to work double to twice, which is what I really truly want, and get more team to work with me. And they could
Okay.
help me out and tell me like, well, if you want to break, we got to do this. If you want to do this, we have to do that. You know?
Sure.
Yeah, because
So
you need a team to help you balance everything. Because you could do everything to yourself, but it'll be overflowing sometimes.
sure.
Especially like I don't do that much graphic design, and
Okay.
I'm always looking for a graphic designer, and we're always looking for a PPR, like
Okay.
people who sends out
Sure.
like the new songs and out there for people, or like playlists and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So real quick, Ashley and SK just popped in. Do we know them?
Yes, we do know
Okay.
Ashley.
All right. Let me see
Ashley's
if I just.
my sister,
Okay.
my best friend.
All right. I'm gonna add them to the stage,
Okay.
and see if they're still here. They just popped up, so I don't know if I can get them in. They're on. They just have to turn their cameras on and kind of unmute the camera, and then they can come on. So they're underneath us now. So they're at the bottom of us. So if they want to come on, they're welcome. So
For
they
real.
just have to pop on. So we'll continue talking if they hop in. We're good to
Yeah.
go from there. So hey, what's up,
Hi.
Ashley?
Hi.
I heard we're gonna bring her
So
to the stage.
yeah,
I was like,
so I
oh,
was like, you guys popped in the studio. I was like, well, we'll hang out now.
okay.
So I didn't mean to put you on the spot. If you want to go, you can turn the camera up. I don't know. I was like, I asked Michelle, I'm like, who's Ashley? She just popped up.
Yeah, I've been listening. It's great conversation, great questions, and I mean, yeah, it's pretty intrigued.
Yeah, it is. You got me real
Yes.
hard on these questions, man.
So they're not like,
Not
I don't ever set up my podcast to like ask, like I said, and like really, hard questions, because I want it to be comfortable. It's a conversation style
Yeah.
podcast, right? So I want it to be flowing, and I just kind of want to get the artist perspective on like how they are and what like attracts them to the music scene, and then the people watching my video obviously can go to them. I drop their links out, I put everything down. So the way the conversation flows, like I told Michelle earlier, I'm like, I don't want to ask like obscure questions and obnoxious questions. Like my
Yeah.
goal is to not put her in a bad light. It's to be positive. So everything we've talked about is like stuff for her and her band, right? So the places she plays, how she does things, kind of like pick her brain on the music scene and like where she wants to be and like where she wants to end up. Because ultimately, like, I'm a small podcaster, but like I want to be one day that like a Joe Rogan, right? Where I have, you know, hundreds of millions of people watch my show every day, right? And so I want the best for Michelle too, right? I want to see her band make it. I want to see her, you know, on the Billboard charts, right? Like
Love
we
it.
want to see her and at the Allstate Arena sound out to 30,000 people, right? So
And
we
you're
all
going
have
to
to
be
start
doing her
somewhere.
podcast
Yeah,
regularly.
Right.
too.
So
you're
Your
always
both are going to be big.
yeah,
right.
well,
So you know, you got to think big and dream big, right? So like, you know,
yes.
we're obviously small in the scene. We met through social media, you know, and we reached out, but like, you know, I just want this to be a positive experience for my guest, because as she starts to grow, you know, she might get asked to be on other podcasts and stuff like that. And then, you know, you just kind of want your music to get out there. You want yourself to get out there, and you kind of, you know, it's a way to put yourself out there to do it. So I just wanted it to be professional, but I also wanted it to be a good experience for her and myself, so that we could showcase our talents and kind of go from there. So talking to her was super easy, so it was good. And you know, and the questions I had, like, I don't really, like I said, I'll show you guys, I'll get it, like, so I just kind of write them down, right? So they're not anything too crazy, right? They're just kind of tell us a little bit about, you know, how you got into it, you know, what were your influences. And so like we touched on all of that stuff. And then usually at the end of my videos, as we're winding down, like kind of now with having about 5 or 10 minutes left, you know, I kind of ask the big questions, right? Like, what are your aspirations? Like, what is your dream? Like, what do you want to do? Like cities you want to go and play, countries you want to go visit? Because obviously we're hoping that everybody makes it in this world, right?
Yeah.
We only live once. So I want the best for her and her band, right? I want her to get signed, to get picked up and go tour the world. And, you know, and so when she's famous one day, I'll be like, hey, listen, I had Michelle on when she was playing at the Liars Club in front of, you know, 100 people. Now she's playing in front of 100,000 people at a festival.
Yep.
Right. So that's what, so like I said, our dream is big, right? We all want to have that grandeur of where we want to end up. And so that's kind of where my following questions, you know, are, you know, to, like I asked, like, who would you want to go on tour with? Like she said, the Hives, right? Like in Green Day, right? You know, Green Day is probably one of the biggest bands in the world, right? Like in the punk rock scene, right? So that's a great one to say, right? And so I just want it to be positive for everybody watching, and to have an overall like experience of being involved and being, so when we replay this, right, and we show it on YouTube, people will see, you know, the way that it breaks down. And then that way Michelle could say, you know, if somebody said, hey, do you want to be on a podcast, she could say, yeah, here, I've already been on one, this is what it, so they kind of know that she's familiar with the setup. And that's how it goes. It's just a stepping stone and you know, another rung on the ladder. So, you know, the next one she goes on to, you know, they might be a little bit bigger than I am, right? They might have a little bit more following, gets out to a couple more people, and then go on to the next one and go on to the next one. Because, you know, it's growth. It's all about, you know, personal growth and experiences. So, you know, she did great. And I know she was nervous, but she killed it. So it's awesome. And so that's it.
No, yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
It was like I'm still nervous to this day. But I can't wait till I look back and I'll be like, oh, baby Michelle.
Yeah. Right. So and that's exactly it, right? Because obviously, you know, you're in an industry that is a very, you know, it's cutthroat, right? And you could tell the better people that are involved in it are getting the better experiences, right? And so like somebody like you that's hardworking and dedicated and experienced and kind of knows what to do, like you're setting yourself up very well, right? So even having it, you know, the degree in engineering, right, for sound, even if you didn't make it in your band, like you could work with other big bands, right?
Yeah.
My goal is to have you make it huge, right? Like that's what I want. Like, so I don't want to say you're not going to make it, because you are, right?
No.
So put positive, you know, statements into the universe, right? Like,
No,
let 'em work
yeah,
for you.
and honestly,
So that's it. So,
so
you know,
true.
you're going to go places, and this was just a stepping stone on how we started it. So
Yeah, I mean,
that was kind of it. So
yeah, you got to start somewhere. You
Yeah,
have to
and-
start somewhere. And like, you know, it's like baby steps on everything. And you
Mhm.
have to look back and realize what you did wrong and what you're doing,
Sure.
what you're going to do better in the next one. And it's like my producer says, he always says, listen, like, I know you're going to make it and I know you're going to be big. And he goes, but if it doesn't happen, like, you know, you have the great engineer because he's a recording engineer and he
Yeah.
has recorded multiple people back then, and he has like produced for a lot of people too. He's honestly one of the greatest like teacher of all time,
Mhm.
because I still like we work together, and even like
Sure.
we're not working on my projects, we're working on other people's projects,
Yeah.
which I love because I pick my brains out so much. Sometimes I will like, you know, school could teach you so many things, but when you're like on hands, it's more like, whoa, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah. Right.
whoa, how did you do that? How did you make this
Yeah.
sound cooler? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll be
Exactly.
sitting
And
there like sometimes like, wait, what did you do there? Go back, go back.
yeah.
What is
And
that?
the best thing is that like, you know, you're charismatic and you kind of you have that like energy to you. So like I know
Sometimes,
you're gonna do
sometimes
great
it
things, right?
depends.
So like, you know, you have stuff to fall back on, but like your
Yeah.
music is gonna carry you. And that's what like
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you on because I know you're gonna be big. So, you know, when I
Thank
you know,
you.
so next year when you played, you know, a bunch of places and you have that under your belt, like we can revisit this and talk about your
Yeah.
experiences, you know, next year and move from there, right? So
Yeah.
that's what draws me to like doing podcasts and like meeting people and
Mm,
networking with people, right?
mm.
Just because like it's I could feel your energy when you talk about music, right? You're
Yeah.
obviously excited about it, like you're passionate about it, and that's
Yeah.
the best thing about it. Like you're focused, you're driven, and you're going to do great. And
Yeah.
that's my platform is to help you, you
Thank
know, get to the next level if I
you.
can in any way. And that's, you know, what I plan to do, you know, with
Yeah.
all my guests, right? They all have something unique that they bring to the table, and with you it's your music, and you're going to
Yeah.
do very well. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, yeah, like I'm always praying, I'm always putting out in the universe saying like, "Oh my God,
mhm.
we got this. We're gonna do this." And like, you know, whatever you put in the universe positive, it's
Sure,
gonna come back to you twice. You never want
that
to put out
is
there
right.
negativity. And
Yep.
you always gotta, here's the key thing about being positive and like what I learned about life, is that you always want to talk in past tense. Like
Mhm.
literally, because you're manifesting that it already happened.
Sure,
And
right.
when that happens, you're like, "Oh my God," like, you
Yeah,
know? But I know you're gonna be successful, and I know you're gonna be the greatest podcast on
I'm
earth
trying.
one
That's
day.
the goal,
I
right?
I know
So
you will. I know you will, dude.
yeah,
Like I see, like I was stalking you when we first talked. I was like, let me stalk him a little bit
yeah.
more.
No, and all
And
my
I was
stuff
just
lives on
looking at it.
YouTube,
I was like,
right?
dude, he's so
So
chill. He's so fun. He makes everybody feel like very like
yeah,
cozy.
because
Like, you know?
my, you know, it's crazy because like I keep everything on YouTube, kind of like a journal, right? So
Yeah.
my very first one up until now, I have 230 videos, and I don't ever want to get rid of those first ones
Mm.
because even when my equipment was failing and stuff would fall and like my screen would go black, and I those were all learning experiences of
Mm.
what not to
Yep.
do, right? Like how
Yep.
to ask better questions, how to
Mm.
prepare, right? And so
Hmm.
I wrote everything down in journal form. So
Yeah.
when I ask questions, you know, of people, I don't want to ask the redundant questions, right? I want
Yeah.
their perspective of uniqueness. So when
Yeah.
I bring things to the forefront, I want your perspective on things. I want your spin on things. I don't want to just go down the line and ask everybody the same questions. I
Yeah.
watched your videos and found things that were unique to you
Yeah.
and to talk about stuff that, you know, is in your background that, you know, we could bring out to our guests. So, you know,
Yeah.
we all have that kind of, you know, issue that we're going to be better than we were yesterday. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how, you know, I grow. That's how we all grow.
Hmm.
So wrapping things up, Michelle,
Yes.
in the next few weeks and months, what do you have lined up? Show wise,
Ooh.
recording wise, like what do we got going on?
So we do have a show coming up. We haven't they haven't told us the date yet, but I know it's gonna be in January, so I will
Okay.
put it out there some around towards the end of December. Um, Also like the next month, since we live in Chicago and it's gonna be
Uh,
cold and snowy, we're gonna be practicing, we're gonna be making more music in the
okay.
studios, and just create, obviously we have to create contact videos, so we have to do
Sure. Right.
that to stay like, you know, to put stuff out there. But yeah, no, this next up until probably fair no probably April, up to April, we're just gonna be hardcore practicing,
Okay.
hardcore recreating new songs, so we have enough materials for 2026 that we could put them out within like within 2 months or 3 months back to
Sure.
back. Yeah.
Okay. And then to wrap things up, last but not least, where could people find you at? Give us your links to your socials. I'll put them in the
Yeah.
description. That way people could find you and your music, and we'll get you set up.
Yeah, so you guys can find me under Michelle Sanchez Music .com on my website, or you could go to Michelle Sanchez Music. It's everywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, everywhere you could think of. Michelle Sanchez Music.
Perfect. So we'll link everything in the bio. Like I said, we'll do some editing on the video. It'll be up tonight. I'll send you the link, and we'll go from there. I'll link everything in the bio, guys. So those of you watching the One Fun Guy podcast, I will link Michelle's information if you want to book her or if you want to listen to her music, where you can be found. We'll get her going, and we'll do that. So when wrapping things up, Michelle, I just wanted to say thank you for being a good guest. Ashley, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And I am the One Fun Guy podcast, guys. Michelle was my guest. We'll link everything in the bio for her. She did great. Support her and her music. And we'll see you guys on the next one. All right.
See ya. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everybody.
You too. Bye.
All right.